News is diving into the issues facing the nation and looking at how they impact the White House and the rest of us. We're joined by political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi this morning. Thanks for being in the studio with us.
Nice to be here again.
Appreciate it. Now, after the chemical attack in Syria, many in the U.S. said that doing nothing was just simply not an option. From a psychological point of view, why was the overall consensus that way? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that this is a classic approach avoidance conflict for the president. And what he's done, he's made a measured approach. He didn't put any airplanes in the air or pilots. It was a missile attack so that it was limited. So he approached the situation, but in a very guarded and measured way. And in a sense, he wants to avoid the situation, but he also approached it so we don't look weak and we allow for some type of chemical warfare.
Do you think he did what he did just to send some type of message and not exactly full-on warfare?
I think it's a message because the airfield was open again on Sunday, a few days later. So I don't think it had any significant impact from a military standpoint, but the military approach itself actually sent the message that we're here, we're watching, and we may take action if you do this again.
But it's really interesting because a lot of the Trump supporters actually, you know, they're America first. And a lot of them are very upset because they want to put America first and not invade other nations. So how do you think they're kind of feeling right now about all this?
Well, the political psychology of this is fascinating because on the far right, they're opposed to these military strikes, as you just said. But on the far left, Bernie Sanders and his group also are opposed to this.
Sure.
Everybody on the fringe or on the outside seems to be saying, look, why are we doing this? As terrible as it is, why don't we stay out of a sovereign nation? Why don't we take care of ourselves first and take a look at what's going on, but not take any action unless it's significant? And this action was really not significant in terms of a result. There's no result here.
So psychologically, I mean, what do you think President Trump is thinking about making decisions like these? I mean, on one hand, he has a lot of his supporters who he knows probably don't want this, but he had to send a message in his defense. He wanted to send a message.
Well, I think his thinking is basically, what are we doing right now? Because there are more questions than answers. So he had to do something, and he took a very measured approach. Right now, it probably helps him a little bit, but in the long run, what significant effect is there? And that's where this is going to be going.
And we've been hearing about some tensions, reported tensions in the White House between people like Steve Bannon and Trump's son-in-law, Special Advisor Jared Kushner. How do you think morale is inside the White House right now?
Well, you talk about a conflict. I think this is it. You have someone from Breitbart, the very, very far alt-right in Bannon, and then you have a more moderate person who is actually his son-in-law in the White House. So I see real conflict, a real dilemma for the president, and I think that Bannon is going to have a tough time going forward because I think the more moderates in the Trump family might actually put pressure on the Bannon fringe of this White House.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Bart Rossi. We really appreciate it.